was a great service we had today. The Spirit of the Lord was truly stirring in the house of God, exclaimed Deacon Perlman. All of the brethren responded, Amen, in agreement. Worship services had concluded, and as usual, the board of deacons had gathered together for a final prayer of thanksgiving and petitions before closing the church. As they walked out, Perlman looked at Deacon James Lindsay and said, What's wrong, brother? You look like something's been eating at you. Want to talk about it? But James answered, Nah, I'm okay. Just got a few things on my mind, that's all. However, that was the furthest thing from the truth. James had felt uncomfortable and uneasy during the entire service, and this was not the first time. It was like almost every time he entered the doors of the church, he felt an unbearable weight on his spirit. What a hypocrite you are, he thought to himself. If only the pastor and your fellow brethren knew just who you really are, they'd walk away from you. The pain swelled in his throat as his eyes filled with water, but he pressed his feelings inside and hurried out the door. It wasn't that James did not enjoy the company of his church brethren. It was just that he was fighting this secret addiction that he could not seem to overcome. It began accidentally one day when he was on the internet searching for bass boats. However, he made a typo and Google returned a list of XXX rated sites along with highly pornographic images. He had seen such images before when he was younger and not a Christian. It was no big deal then, just sinfulness, like his whole life was. But by the grace of God, he was brought out of the world of darkness and into the light of Jesus Christ. And such things were of no interest to him anymore. However, it was something about what was on his computer screen. The pictures and the words tugged at his mind as he felt a great desire growing inside of him to just take a glance at the pictures. As he stared at the vulgarity before his eyes, he found it almost impossible to stop looking. A war exploded in his heart, in his mind, as if someone was shouting that he should take his eyes off the screen. But he refused to listen, and before he knew it, he clicked on a link to one of the pornographic websites. Although he didn't spend a lot of time on those sites that day, he felt absolutely miserable. That night he got on his knees and prayed, asking God to forgive him for looking at such things. However, he just couldn't get those images out of his mind. They were so provocative and arousing that he saw them even when he closed his eyes. When he would get on his computer, James would say to himself that he would not look or even visit those pornographic websites anymore. But that's just what he did. He started by looking at them just a little while every few days, but then found himself sitting for hours browsing through some of the grossest, immoral sites on the internet. He would lock himself in his office and peruse XXX websites, sometimes half the night. His wife Cheryl began to ask him what was he doing in there so much. She began to wonder if he was having an affair using one of those online dating sites. His relationship with Cheryl also began to change. Where at first he was loving, kind, and gentle, he began to be crude and insensitive. His togetherness with her seemed to get weirder and weirder until he lost all interest in her. She found the courage to ask him one night, Is there something wrong with me, James? You act like you don't want me anymore. Is it me? Have I gotten so fat and unattractive that you just don't want me? And he responded, Of course not. It's just that I've had some things on my mind. But deep inside, she didn't believe him. It so happened that one day when James was at work, that Cheryl was cleaning the house and dusting off all of the furniture. So she decided to go into James' office and dust off his desk and equipment as well. As she wiped around his desk area, she bumped his mouse and his computer screen came on. Now usually he would lock his computer when he got off, but he must have forgotten to sign off. Cheryl was taken aback by what her husband had been looking at. Some of the most despicable and degrading pictures she had ever seen. It was then she knew why he had lost interest in her and their relationship. Well, she waited for him to come home that evening and then angrily approached him saying, "Is this why you're not interested in me, James? Because you sit up here looking at this filth all night? James, how long has this been going on? And are you doing something else that I should know about?" And then she threw the pictures down in front of him that she had printed from his computer. He was absolutely humiliated and kept saying to her, "Let me explain, Cheryl. It's not what you think. Just please give me a chance to explain." That night, she moved all of her things from the bedroom they shared together and began staying in the guest room across the hall. Angrily, she responded, "You either get some help or else, James, or else." When Sunday came, James went to sit where he usually sat with the board of deacons. But before he could sit down, Deacon Perlman told him, "Sorry, brother, can't sit here. We're having a meeting after church and the pastor has requested for you to be there." Well, when the service was over, James tried to stiffen his appearance before the meeting. But when he came in and sat down, the pastor looked at him and told him that his wife Cheryl had told him everything that was going on, all about his apparent addiction to pornography. He dropped his head in disgrace and said, "I am so sorry, brothers. I do. I'm so sorry."
You have been listening to Start Your Day, a daily devotional with Pastor Eric Lee. To see more of our resources, please visit us at dailyliving.org. Again, that's dailyliving.org. We will be glad to hear from you. God bless you and have a wonderful day.